What up, peeps? Wagwan. And for the elite among us, hi, how are you? Alright, so in the last few weeks to the last few months, I'd say, there's been a lot of talk about dancehall and how dancehall is being used on the mainstream and making money, and who is to get credit and who is not to get credit and whatever else. And I've been asked a number of times by a number of people what is my take on it, what is my view on it. So let me give my honest opinion on it. All right, so in the last few months, we've seen where dancehall influenced tracks have really been getting a lot of momentum in the mainstream, and there's been a lot of songs that have been made that have done well on the mainstream, that either are the tracks are dancehall influenced, or they're sample from dancehall artists being used, and reggae artists as well being used in the song and on the track itself, which for me I think is a really good thing. You know, is a really good look for the music, is a really good look for the culture. There are people among us who are upset, not necessarily because it's being used, but because they feel like enough credit is not being given to the genre itself. So not necessarily the artists, but the genre, because I really haven't heard too many artists complain about not getting paid royalties or whatever else for their vocals or their tracks being used, producers as well. You know, so it's really about the genre being credited. And me hear the point, I understand the point taken. Mr. Vegas, for one, has done a number of videos and interviews giving his take on it. It's believed that the genre is not being credited for these things, and as a result it hurts the brand of the genre. I guess you could call it, not allowing the genre to grow, and the artists who make the music to really benefit from what now seems to be its reoccurring popularity. And I say reoccurring because this is not the first time that dancehall or reggae music has kind of been doing its thing on the mainstream or the pop scene. Not the first time at all. It has happened several times. It's something that tends to come and go. You know, so I don't anticipate that it's necessarily going to be the last. But my thing is, it's something that we have to tread very lightly on, you know, because it makes me think, and it makes me answer the question, when we start getting into the debate of what genre this beat, this track actually is. You know, is this a dancehall track? Is this actually a dancehall song? To name some examples, you have Justin Bieber's Sorry, you have Rihanna Work, you have Drake's One Dance. Right? Now these are all being described as dancehall tracks, at least from the Jamaican perspective anyway. They're being described as dancehall tracks. One of the major bones of contention is when I think it was Billboard magazine who labeled the Work song as tropical music. There are several videos that have been done to really clear that up and identify it as dancehall music. Now, this is where it can get real confusing, because the truth is, music is so diverse, and geographical boundaries have been completely eroded with internet. Our exposure to different cultures has become so much more rampant, and there is always what I'd like to call an exchange of culture. So not that any culture is being robbed of anything, but there is an exchange of culture. I see something that in another culture that I can appreciate, and I'd use it for whatever reason, be it the food, be it the music, be it the dance, the dressing, whatever it is. So it's a sharing of the cultural experience. Now back to the whole music scenario. Now we can say they are stealing the music, or they are making dancehall influence tracks and not giving us credit for it. But let us stop and think for a second. What is it that really differentiates one genre from another one? You know what I mean? I mean, of course, the musicologists out there can probably really break it down better than I can. But the point I'm really making is that there are sometimes very, very minute differences between one sound and another. And the truth is, through evolution of music, it's usually the borrowing of one sound being mixed with another. Sometimes some songs even get created by accident. You know what I mean? So when you start to debate as to what is my music and what is the authentic sound and who is using my music, you kinda start tread some waters where it can get real murky, because the truth of the matter is, it is always being mixed and blended. A lot of dancehall tracks, and I give you one for example. I think it's the Genie Rhythm. The Genie Rhythm, which had Elephant Man song, Juke Girl. That rhythm was influenced by music that was from India. I'm not quite sure what that genre is called, but it had some Indian influence in it. You see what I'm saying? If we are going to go back to the history of Jamaican music, both dancehall and reggae, we can always argue that there are influences from African music, traditional African music, as well as R&B music, the original rhythm and blues, even jazz, and those songs I think were mixed, merged, and blended, and created what we know today as reggae and dancehall music. Hip hop emerged from dancehall music, right? Now, I really don't hear a lot of talk of people complaining that dancehall or reggae came from their sound, and as such, we owe them anything. You know what I mean? I was listening to an interview. I think it was with Mr. Vegas, and he was talking about the different tracks that were done and were being labeled differently, not being labeled as dancehall music. They were influenced by dancehall and reggae music, and he even played tracks, dancehall tracks, and of course you could hear the obvious similarities. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, he has a very valid point there, but is it absolutely necessary for the genre to be given credit for it per se? I mean, it would be great. It would be great, but is this something that we really want to debate about? Is it really just nitpicking? You know what I mean? Do we really need to spend time and argue about where this sound actually came from? Or should we be spending our time trying to figure out how to capitalize on the fact that the world at this point has the attention of the song? Again, this is not the first time that dancehall and reggae music has gotten this type of exposure, but it could very well be the last, because based on a lot of the arguments that I'm hearing, there's a lot of what sounds like bitterness. And I say it sounds like bitterness simply because I don't really think people are being bitter, but people are upset because the music is something that they've worked very hard on it. They've put a lot of time into it, and as a nation in Jamaica, we've been robbed of quite a bit. So I can understand the reservations, but at the same time, we don't want to get to the point where we seem too disgruntled, and then nobody don't want to work with us. Because if it gets to that point, then, as we'd say back home, dog, nyam supper. You know what I mean? So let's kind of, I think we should step back a little bit. Stop worrying so much about who has credit and what it is called. Mr. Vegas even made mention of the fact that reggaeton, the sound came from dancehall music and they changed it to reggaeton. I mean, if we're going to put it all into perspective, them said there wasn't reggaeton. Dancehall isn't being given credit for reggaeton. But the name alone, if you ask me, is credit. When people hear reggae, people think Jamaica. So if you hear the sound reggaeton, you probably won't even think it come from anywhere else in the world. You understand what I say? But I just say, make we step back from that something there a little bit. Make we focus more upon capitalizing on the sound, capitalizing on the attention that we have right now, and trying to make some music and put it out there to the world. You know, I mean, I was listening to an interview with Assassin yesterday as well, and they spoke to him about this whole matter, and just the same, and his perspective was very similar. You know, it's not so much about what other people are doing, it's what about what the artists, the reggae and the dancehall artists are not doing. And that to me is fundamentally where the shift needs to be made, or where the shift needs to be made. We need to focus on what we need to do to bring this music further out to the forefront. You know what I'm saying? Now, my brethren, Baby Ace, he and I were having a conversation about this as well. And I even made the point that, to me, I don't think the American mainstream, and I can probably just say mainstream, because when people talk about mainstream, they're really talking about the American pop market. But when the mainstream, I don't think the mainstream really has more space, has space for more than one non-indigenous sound at any time. So right now it's dancehall. Right now it's dancehall. There is Afrobeat that's bubbling on the surface. Now, Afrobeat is very similar to dancehall. Now, not saying both genres can't really do them thing, because I really like to see both genres do them thing. I want to see Afrobeat get a forward. But the point I'm really making is, if the sound and the whole vibe, because the whole vibe and the sound with Afrobeat is very similar to dancehall. I mean, are we going to get into the debate of whether or not Afrobeat come from dancehall, or dancehall come from an African influence? If we're going to do that, then we have to have the conversation, which come first, the chicken or the egg? Probably will never get an answer for it. So the truth is, the argument is irrelevant because it's circular. It will never end. So what I'm saying all this to say, if we are to the point where people start feeling like these people are too difficult to deal with, what they're going to do is they're going to find the alternative that creates a similar effect, and then go done with dancehall or reggae music. You understand what I'm saying? So we can't either keep nitpicking about it, or we can make the best of the situation and really create an identity for ourselves, really help to build the culture. Because right now, to me, I don't think a lot of these arguments that are being made and these conversations that are being had is really doing anything for building the culture of dancehall and reggae music. You know, that's just my opinion. You know, so I think we need to Lego that. Focus more upon how we can capitalize on it. There are some artists that are doing really well at it. Big up Agent Assassin, aka Agent Sasko, Busy Signal, man like Jacure, the Marleys, there are several others out there. Popcorn are doing thing as well. A lot of them who are really doing a lot to push the culture forward. You know, they're really capitalizing on the exposure that is now being given to dance and reggae music, and that is where it needs to go. You know, this whole nitpicking thing kind of need to be done with. You know what I mean? But on a lighter note, here in Columbus, Ohio, there's been to me this year has been a really good year for the dancehall and reggae culture. It's been doing really well. We've had some really big concerts this year. You know, it's a beautiful thing to see people come out and support reggae and dancehall music like that. You know, I think it was about April. Iactine was here earlier in the year. The Marleys had a tour as well that did very well. And the 4th of June, DeMarco is going to be in the city as well. It's going to be in Columbus, Ohio. Then I think it's the 11th. Sham is coming back. Sham is coming back to Columbus to rip it up again. So the summer for dancehall in Columbus look good. It looks really good. You know, and at the same time I want to big up the people who really are push the culture forward and keep the music going in Columbus. Man like DJ Baby A, Speed Funk, Mad Sugar, Big T, the Roots High Power Band. Everybody, if me not name you, not watch no face, big up yourself same way. But I just love the fact so now push the culture, keep it moving. We need to show the world say Columbus, Ohio is a big reggae market, so we can pull out some more reggae artists them for come through. People can just enjoy themselves and have a good time. You know what I mean? But you know, it's your boy Corey. Big up yourself. Salute. Bless up.